Rotating cast of characters as people come through to speak to the Oversight Committee. It looks like Anita Dunn is walking out here. Do we have that sound? All right,
Ms. Dunn, can you just answer a quick question for us? Were you against doing a cognitive test for President Biden? Were you afraid of sharing any of the results from a cognitive test? Would you have supported a cognitive test if the doctor would have approved of it? Do you think the president was fit to serve for another 4 years? Ms. Dunn, do you have anything to say about what Anthony Bernal said about you? He called you disloyal in a new book. Do you have anything to say in response to that? Are you disloyal to the Biden family? Ms. Dunn, why should voters trust Democrats in the White House again?
Ms. Dunn, how was the meeting overall today?
Do you think President Biden was fit to be president, Ms. Dunn? Yes or no?
Was it a good
Give us a yes or no.
Good effort from Aisha Hasni, asking the questions that we all would like to hear some answers for. She was a public servant working in the White House for the people of the United States. But she's answered questions behind closed doors, another of the Biden insiders who has been talking to House Republicans about these claims that people understood a cognitive decline was underway and that they covered it up. And that's what the questions are all about here. She was one of the former president's closest advisors, Anita Dunn. But there were reports that there were tensions between the two near the end of Biden's campaign for re-elect. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni, working hard in the halls on Capitol Hill, joins us with the latest from this hearing. Hi, Aisha.
Hi, Martha. We're still waiting to see what she actually said inside the room, because as you saw there, she didn't want to say yes or no or anything to our questions. And we're interested to hear what she said inside, because her opening statement, it was leaked during her testimony. And basically, she's defending the former president, saying that he was aware of all of the decision making. He was behind it all. He knew what was going on inside the White House. And Republicans on the committee did not like that happened, that there was this leak of the opening statement during her deposition. In fact, they said that it is no surprise Anita Dunn is telling the American people not to believe their own eyes, claiming Joe Biden was sharp and fully engaged. Now, it is interesting that she's coming out in defense of Biden so strongly, because like you said, this was not a rosy relationship between Dunn and the Biden family. In fact, according to the book 2024, Jill Biden's former chief of staff, Anthony Bernal, accused her of being disloyal to the Biden family because she wanted to be more transparent about the family. She also openly criticized Biden's handling of the Hunter pardon, calling it an attack on our judicial system. So it has been very interesting to see all of these folks come out and defend the former president. Martha.
Indeed, Aisha, thank you very much.
Moments ago, we all saw Anita Dunn arriving on the Hill for a closed-door interview with the House Oversight Committee as the panel continues to probe the alleged cover-up of the former president's mental decline. Dunn, who served as Biden's former senior communications advisor, is the 10th witness to be questioned now, but she's only the 7th to appear voluntarily.
Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni is live on Capitol Hill, and we could see you in the hallway trying to catch up with her. Not sure if she said anything, but let's get your take on this morning's events.
Well, Dana, you saw that last-minute dash because Anita Dunn actually came in from a back door entrance. I think that they've all caught on now, watching us chase them from the front door entrance. They're taking the back hallway now, so I had to race over there and try to catch her along with the rest of the reporters. I did ask her a number of questions. She didn't reply to a single one. Let's see if we can roll this. There, but I do ask her if she thought President Biden was competent to run the country. I asked her why she or anyone else didn't tell the American people that he was having memory issues, that he was less energetic. That is according to a source familiar with Ron Klain's deposition. That's what he apparently told the committee. And I also asked her about the Hunter pardon. She's been public about basically rejecting it, saying that it wasn't a good idea from the Biden administration. We are not expecting her to plead the fifth today. That is us because she is not here under a subpoena. She is here voluntarily. And historically, so far, we've had 10 people show up now, 7 of them without a subpoena, and they have gone on for about 5 hours. So we do expect this to be a long deposition. Now, again, I said she has openly criticized the former president's decision to pardon his son, to which Hunter Biden actually fired back in those recent podcasts he did, naming Dunn among his targets. And again, she's the 10th Biden staffer to come on the Hill. Earlier this week, former aide Bruce Reed defended the former president, claiming that his debate issues, his debate struggles were all caused by his stutter, and also claimed that the White House Dr. Kevin O'Connor dismissed those cognitive tests as meaningless. So again, we'll wait and see. She's in the room now. And again, this goes on for quite some time today as they try to figure out if she's going to stir the pot today anymore and unveil any new information about the former president. Dana.
Aisha, thank you. Guy Benson is the host of the Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio and a Fox News contributor. Let's listen to a little bit of Anita Dunn. This was from August of 2024 in the way back machine when there was the switcheroo that the Democrats were dealing with.
He's very comfortable with the decision he made. He believes it was the right decision, that there's nothing more important to him than defeating Donald Trump. And, you know, if you look around over the past 29 days, this is a party that is energetic, that is excited, but also has to understand, as Governor Pritzker said, it is a very tough race, and that all of us need to join together to win this thing. And it's not a time for looking back. It is a time for looking forward.
This is very interesting, Guy, because as I recall, there is some anonymous reporting that said that she wasn't into Joe Biden doing that debate on June 27th with President Trump.
Yeah, well, now's the time for looking back. Maybe not in August of last year, but August of this year. It's imperative that Congress use its oversight role here to try to get to the bottom of the extent of the cover-up, who was part of it, what it entailed. And I think so far we've gotten some tidbits of interest, but a lot of nothing from the people in the inner circle because they were the people who did it, right? So I understand some of them pleading the fifth or not really wanting to say much, others maybe offering up a little bit of information. It is possible, Dana, that she'll say a few interesting things today, given the fact that she was willing to break with the Bidens publicly and thus drawing the ire from Hunter Biden, for example, on the pardon issue. But overall, I think there was a lot of chaos internally and tumult when they were throwing Joe Biden out of the race. They framed it as his decision. He was forced out of that race. And I don't think that anyone really wants to step up, raise their hand and say, yeah, we tried to run the presidency by committee in an extra constitutional way, and we tried to foist someone who was clearly unable to do the job 24/7 at the time onto the country for an entire additional full term. Right. No one's going to say that, so I'm not holding my breath. But we'll see what comes out of today's hours-long grilling.
You've had several members of that administration testify already. We can show you that on the board. There's some additional ones who are coming up. One of them is Karine Jean-Pierre. That will be mid-September. And then you also have the Chief of Staff, Jeff Zients, which I think is very interesting. There you can see, I think they're going to pull it up for you, the ones that have testified already. And we will add Anita Dunn to that category as well. In addition, Senator Slotkin, who was most recently a House member, she's a younger Democrat. She won a tough race. She very much wants new leadership in the Democratic Party. Listen here.
Economy and a new generation of leadership, to me, are keys to bringing that next generation into politics.
Is that why you think Mamdani in New York had so much success? It wasn't necessarily his progressiveness, it was his age?
Yeah, I've said very openly that I never would be called an expert on New York City politics, but the two messages were like a blinking red light. How can you miss them? People are still extremely focused on the cost of living and how they can't get ahead. And then number two, they want that new generation of leadership.
So do you think she'll get it?
Well, it's interesting. I would say someone who is cut from the same cloth as Senator Slotkin is Abigail Spanberger, who is a member of the House. She is running for governor in Virginia. She was just asked, I think yesterday, by a local reporter about her position on biological males in women's sports, and her campaign wouldn't give an answer and put out this sort of mealy-mouthed nothing statement. which shows, I think, the real problem that the Democrats have. You can move around the people, you can present some new, fresher, younger faces. If they're going to stick with positions that are on the wrong side of the American public overwhelmingly, you can say, look at our new generation. Are the ideas appealing to people, or do they seem insane and detached from reality? So I think that Slotkin probably didn't want to talk about Mamdani. My guess is a lot of these Democrats would prefer not to talk about him. She might point to a Spamberger as the example of what she wants to see a lot more of in politics. And then you get this episode from yesterday that I really think underscores a lasting issue that they have right now.
It's pretty incredible that that's not an easy question to answer. Guy Benson, thank you so much for being with us today. Have a great day.
Scooping up a distraction, Joe Biden was recently spotted getting ice cream at 2 different Baskin-Robbins in Maryland in just 1 week. It comes as some of his former aides are questioned on a brain freeze of a different kind. Former Biden senior advisor Anita Dunn arriving on Capitol Hill for a closed-door interview on Biden's mental decline and the autopen. But unlike others who pled the fifth, Ms. Dunn was ready to talk. In an opening statement obtained by Fox, she said, quote, "While I observed that President Biden aged physically during his time in office, which is something that happens to every president, he remained throughout my interactions with him fully engaged and clear in his directions and supervision." Ms. Dunn, though, however, was not ready to talk to reporters.
Were you against doing a cognitive test for President Biden? Were you afraid of sharing any of the results from a cognitive test? Would you have supported a cognitive test if the doctor would have approved of it? Do you think the president was fit to serve for another 4 years?
Maybe soft serve, right, Kennedy? He likes his soft serve. Sprinkles or no sprinkles, I'm not really sure. Does ice cream and mental acuity go hand in hand, Kennedy?
Yes, because I think, sadly, his brains are as luscious as soft serve. I'm trying to use a positive adjective here. But yes, I mean, when people get on in age, sometimes it's the simpler things in life that bring them the most comfort and joy. And, you know, I think a big trip, a field trip to Baskin-Robbins is just what the big guy ordered. And, you know, he's supposedly writing his memoir right now. It's a scintillating book that almost no one wants to read. And I'm sure he's not delighted to write it. But we are hearing word that if former Vice President Harris put some nasty things in her memoir about him, that his camp is prepared to retaliate. So maybe they're doing some spitballing sessions out at the old ice cream shop.
I'm sure Dr. Biden is on standby on that one. Listen, Jesse, Joe Biden has said, I don't smoke, I don't drink, but I eat a lot of ice cream. Anita Dunn, of course she's going to, you know, defend him. It would be a reflection on her if she said that, yes, I saw some decline.
Well, she didn't take the fifth. And so I guess I'm supposed to be happy about that. This is the preseason, Rosanna, and they're just getting these people on the record under oath. So when they do go out on live TV under the bright lights and Comer hits him square between the eyes, he's setting a perjury trap. Or they'll wiggle and dance, and we can really see who was the main cover-up artist and where the contours were for the cover-up. And we can zero in on the main culprits, and we can zero in on a specific law that was invalid if there was no one at home while he, meaning autopen, was writing it. Now, the ice cream, I feel bad about all of my... I shouldn't have made fun of his ice cream, but I had rules, and they were simple. When you get an ice cream cone as a grown man, you go with your family. You go on vacation. You don't wander into an ice cream parlor by yourself with security on a Tuesday afternoon. That's where it gets a little sad and pathetic.
Unless you're ordering iced coffee.
Right,
Tyrus,
I guess.
I know you're saying this, but he spent about $10,000 on ice cream during the 2020 election. There were reports about this.
True?
There are reports that he spent $10,000, but he didn't eat all the, all of it himself.
He didn't eat all ice cream. No,
he
fell
spent
asleep between scoops.
No, apparently he bought it for some of the donors too.
Oh, of course he did. Of course he did.
That's what the donors want.
Yes, nothing like using your illegal Chinese money to buy ice cream for the donors. Listen, I think what we're seeing here, and and we shouldn't really make fun of this because this is what people typically do when they're getting their loved ones ready for the home. You go on little routines. You go to the, like he thinks he's going on speaking events and they're taking him to the ice cream shop because he won't say, hey, where's my podium? He's like, oh, chocolate chip. And then he has a nice day. And then they go to the ice cream show and again the following week. Then eventually they're going to go to the ice cream shop, and on the way back, they're going to stop at this really pretty hospital. And it's got a really cool room, and it's got pictures of Corn Pop on the wall, and his favorite rocking chair, and his favorite beach chair. We're just going to have some ice cream in this little room. And then Dr. Jill's going to go talk to the doctor for a minute, and the door's going to lock. And then Ben Stiller's going to come in and say, you're in my world now, Grandpa. So that's what's happening. That's all what's happening. We've all been there. We've all done that. Give them those last few days before you put them in the home.
Dana, of course, Ms. Dunn is defending him, but she did have a few things reportedly to say about Hunter Biden. She wasn't happy with the timing of the pardon. Not so much the pardon, but the timing of the pardon.
I've always admired her as a professional, but I also remember that right after the debate, she was kind of Baghdad Bob for the White House, and she was like, our numbers haven't gone down. Meanwhile, I would imagine she wasn't, held back from knowing about the switcheroo that was about to take place. I am certain somebody said, Anita, what do you think? And then, so that's kind of interesting. But I also, who I want to see question Anita Dunn? It's Hunter. He's got a big beef with her. One of the things he complained about is that this is Hunter Biden, said that she made $40 to $50 million off Biden and the Democrats over the years, and he's got an issue. So when she says, I had issue with the Hunter Biden pardon, and not the pardon itself, but the timing of it, then that actually would be the best way to see her question, is if Hunter had a chance.
All right, keeping an eye on.
Longtime advisor to former President Biden says he made all the decisions, the important decisions at the White House. Anita Dunn testifying today at a closed-door meeting of the House Oversight Committee. That panel looking to allegations of a cover-up concerning the then president's mental health. Senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni reports tonight from Capitol Hill.
Were you against doing a cognitive test for President Biden? Were you afraid of sharing any of the results from a cognitive test? Would you have supported a cognitive test if the doctor would have approved of it? Anita Dunn on the Hill to answer questions about an alleged White House cover-up of President Biden's decline. The former senior advisor of communications came to his defense today. In her opening statement, she admitted Biden had aged physically, but wrote, "From what I experienced and observed in the White House, President Biden made all of the important decisions. I did not observe White House staff making key decisions or exercising the powers of the presidency without President Biden's knowledge or consent." Republicans on the committee firing back, saying it's no surprise Anita Dunn is telling the American people not to believe their own eyes, claiming Joe Biden was sharp and fully engaged. This opening statement leaked to the media before Ms. Dunn even delivered it is yet another example of the absurd lengths Biden loyalists will go to defend his failed presidency. In the book 2024, Dunn was accused of being disloyal by another Biden insider because she pushed for more transparency about the Biden family. She also publicly condemned the way the former president rolled out his decision to pardon his son Hunter.
I don't agree with the timing, and I don't agree, frankly, with the attack on our judicial system.
Hunter later blasting Dunn and other Democrats in a podcast interview. Ms. Dunn, what did you think of Hunter's interviews? He called you out by name. And Brett, according to a source familiar with Anita Dunn's testimony today, apparently she told committee staff that it was Biden's inner circle that decided against doing a cognitive test, saying that there was really no political benefit to it, and that even though if they believe that he would have passed it, even if he had gone through one of those tests. Brett?
Okay, Aisha Hazi live on Capitol Hill. Aisha, thanks.
Here with analysis is Fox News legal analyst himself, Craig Jarrett. This is serious and significant in this way, is that we all know he was a cognitive mess. Anyone that says he wasn't, they're either so blind to their politics or they're just flat out lying. I think they're mostly lying. But putting that aside, then it raises the issue of the autopen and the pardons and the commutations and whether or not the New York Times is correct that he did not approve every one and he only set down criteria and standards, which in my view would render those commutations and pardons invalid. Thoughts?
Well, first of all, he was the marionette president controlled by others. But the autopen scandal could escalate, and it could, Sean, as you point out, result in legal challenges to everything from executive orders to pardons and commutations that were issued by the thousands. If documents were signed without Biden's knowledge, or if he never consented to them, or if he was incapable of consent, then by operation of law, those documents are null and void. They're invalid. The Supreme Court laid down that principle a long time ago. And whomever authorized them or signed them could actually be criminally charged. It's called forgery and fraud. At least one Biden aide who has already testified and operated the autopen, she admitted, said she had no idea who authorized her using it. It wasn't Joe Biden because she said she never saw the guy. And the president cannot delegate the decision-making to use the autopen. That's fundamental. So the question remains right now, did rogue actors commandeer that important device without authority? And it's beginning to look like the answer is yes. You know, Anita Dunn's account of Biden's mental condition is absurd. In the face of all the evidence we've seen with our own eyes, an enfeebled president, lost, confused, sometimes incoherent, barely sentient, at meetings before the cabinet, he actually had to read cue cards written by somebody else. And then at fundraisers, they were scripted with a teleprompter. You know, they propped him up like a mannequin and they dragged him around like Weekend at Bernie's. And who can forget Obama grabbing Joe's arm to escort him off the stage with this bewildered look on his face? Who am I? Who are these people? You know, as I say, Biden was a marionette president controlled by others, and they may have crossed the line into illegality.
We need one truthful whistleblower, just one, somebody, with some level of integrity and honesty. All right, Greg Jarrett, thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.